Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Great to see everybody tonight. Yes, Barbara, there's a meeting. Come on in the room. Yes, we need to talk about some things. Come on in. Come on in. Spread the word. We talking tonight. Sister Cherie, Sister Cheryl, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'm following a prompting. I'm Pentecostal, and so I got to listen to the Holy Ghost. All right. Do me a favor. Share this for me, please, if you would. There's going to be some folk watching live and some folk watching on replay, but I want to make sure that we start this conversation. It's a conversation we're going to be starting and having all month. All right. And so I'm really excited about this tonight, this topic of conversation. And I'll tell you why I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it because I believe that this is something that we're not talking about, and this is something that we need to talk about. I think people need some help. And I'll tell you what I mean when I say I think people need some help. Y'all, I think that we are not okay. And we need to talk about this. We are not okay. We're not. We got a lot going on, y'all. It's a lot going on in the earth. Or somebody would say in the earth. There's a lot going on in our world. There's a lot going on in our lives. And I think we need to talk about it. So do me a favor. Please share this. Let somebody know we're on. And if you're catching this on the replay, share the replay. We're going to have this conversation for the entire month of May because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, those of y'all who know me, you know how I roll, you know the Manifest Network, you know that I'm a pastor, I'm a preacher, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant. My background, what I was trained in, what I was trained to be, is actually a therapist. So I have a clinical background. And with a clinical background, I have been trained to be able to recognize certain challenges that people are having. I've been trained to understand when people are not okay and how to help them. And I'm having this conversation tonight because, y'all, within a couple of weeks, I think I heard at least seven different cases of murder suicides. At least seven. That's um, sons killing their mothers and themselves, a couple going through a divorce, and before the divorce is finalized, brother just shows up with a gun, takes his wife, about to be ex-wife, out. Um, Man down in Louisiana kills his entire family. Those are just three of the stories that I've heard. I've heard so many. I stopped being able to keep track. I lost track. Um, and the thing that is challenging to me about that is we've heard stories, one to the other. They all just kind of rolled, and we just kept on going like it was normal. We just kept on rolling. Oh, that's deep. He did what? Child, what? And then we got him went to work like it's normal. Like, this is stuff that happens in the course of normal events. Y'all, this is not normal. This is not okay. It's not okay. It is not okay when we look up and somebody has ended the life of a loved one and then they end their own life. It's not okay when people are having nervous breakdowns and getting on live. There's a lady who got on live, shot a gas station clerk, and then got on live to tell the police where she was. We are not good. Do you know I'm telling the truth? Have you heard these stories? Yeah, Barbara said, I heard it on the news. Yeah. This is not good. And I wanted to have a conversation about it because I think we're not taking seriously enough the reality of what's happening around us. I think when you look at the world and you see geopolitical tension, my grandmother used to say it like this. She'd say, it's wars and rumors of wars, baby. And you look up and you see that, and you see fuel prices going up and up and up and up and up because of a war that's being fought that doesn't even make sense. That, by the way, we're spending $25 billion a day on, while we're saying we don't have money to fund schools and we don't have money to fund housing. We don't have money to fund healthcare, but we've spent $25 billion in total on this war that doesn't make sense to anybody. So that's going on. And then we're sending our kids off into potential wars all around the world. We're pulling troops out of Germany. So there's stuff going on, and we're trying to figure out what this means. And then you look up, and overnight, 17,000 people lost their jobs. Did you know that? Overnight, 17,000 people who worked for Spirit Airlines got up the next day and they were unemployed. Planes landing and the pilots finding out in the air that the flight that was scheduled for tomorrow are canceled because the company filed bankruptcy. So they're landing and it's like, well, I guess I'm going home. We are not okay. This is too much. This is way too much. And AI is going to take a projected, I think it's 9 million jobs. We'll confirm that in a minute. 9 million jobs or something like that. Y'all, we're going through. And all I want to tell you tonight is that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay for us to admit that we're having a collective moment. I'll never forget, years ago, I was in a grief, well, it wasn't a grief class, it was an emotionally healthy spirituality class. And the writer of the book, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, is a guy by the name of Peter Scazzero. Peter Scazzero. And I've known him for maybe 15 years by that point. And we're taking the staff at my church through this online course. It was during the pandemic. And he knows me, I know him. And so we're doing this exercise and we're talking about grief and loss. And there's a worksheet that we have to do where you name all and list all of your losses. And so we're naming and listing all of our losses on this sheet of paper. And I'm, because I'm leading the staff through this exercise. So I'm like, yeah, you do this and, make sure that you put this here. And, I'm leading because I'm a leader. That's what I do. Leaders lead. And so Pete jumps into our little group and he's, asking us questions, and he looks at me real strange for a second. He says, hey, Sean, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good, Pete. Thanks for asking. He's like, Sean, are you okay? I said, I'm good. I'm good. Sean, are you okay? And the next thing I knew, I was bawling. Have you ever started crying and then realized in the middle of your tears you were crying? He was reading on my face. It was written all over my face. I didn't have to say a word. That's 90s. It was written on my face that I was going through a moment of intense grief. 20 years of loss was catching up with me in one moment, and I was not okay. Isn't it interesting how our first response to the question, are we okay, is usually, yeah, before we even think and stop to think about whether or not we're actually okay. I think we've been conditioned to be okay, even though we're not okay. And in the month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month, this is not the time for us to continue to pretend. It's just not. There's a lot at stake. If we keep pretending that we're okay, one day we're going to snap. One day it's all going to catch up with us. And that's what we have been seeing over these past few weeks. People who I think have been pretending, telling people, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm okay. I'm getting up to work every day, washing, taking a shower, putting on their clothes, picking out what they're going to wear, only to get out in the real world and have a moment where it all comes crashing down. So it's okay to not be okay. Would you type that in the chat, please? It's okay to not be okay. We're not okay. And we need to talk about some of the challenges that are making us not okay. Because guess what? The moment that you admit that you are not okay, you can do the work that's required to be okay. You're never going to be okay trying to be okay when you ain't okay. Okay? We have to talk about these things. We have to create an awareness. We have to be honest. We have to make safe spaces. We have to ask questions. We have to name some things so that we can actually be okay. I got my brother on tonight because tonight I want to talk about one of the things that I think is making us not okay. And I think it's financial stress. I mentioned earlier jobs being lost to AI. I have friends right now who are out of work and they've been looking for work. And usually, um, you know, in those types of trades and those types of professions, it doesn't take you that long. I have friends who've been unemployed for 6 months, friends who've been unemployed for a year, friends who've been trying to change jobs. And the job market is it's shrinking. And while the job market is shrinking, and while there's less opportunity out there, particularly for those of us who look like you and me, because DEI rollbacks, not only that's happening, but the stuff that we need every day is becoming more and more expensive. Bills are going up, taxes are going, so all these things are happening all at once. And I think it's creating a level of stress and bringing up some stuff for us that we've maybe not figured out, maybe not talked about. So I wanted to bring my brother, Sean Ladrie, on to help us in this topic tonight so that we can stop not being okay and trying to pretend like we're okay. Brother Sean, how are you, sir?
I'm not okay.
I feel you, bro.
I'm not okay.
We're not okay, bro. We're not.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. Why do you think we feel like we have to pretend to be okay when we're not okay?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's just a knee-jerk reaction to not want to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so, this goes into a lot of things, right? I mean, we can go so many directions, but it's the I don't want to be vulnerable in front of this person. I don't want them to see that I'm weak. We have a society that is prides itself on toughing it out, right? Our whole culture in America is I don't take any off days off, right? You just had a baby. I was back to work in 2 months. I was sick as a dog, but I made it to my desk.
Yep.
And that's the reason why it's so hard for us to be honest with other people, let alone ourselves. So how can I be honest with you when I'm not even honest with myself?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to put up this facade. we have to project this image.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it too is we think that if we admit that we're not okay, that it's all going to unravel. And I think, like I felt like in that moment when Pete was calling me on my grief, I felt like I needed to hold it together. Like because if I lose it, I don't know what I was like. I'm going to turn into a big puddle of nothing. And what's going to happen then? Like who's going to take on the next moment? Like I cannot lose control. I cannot lose this image that I'm doing all right. I cannot put myself in a situation where I'm too vulnerable.
Yep.
And we hold that up and we keep that facade up. And at one day, that facade does us in. And then you hear some of the stuff you've been hearing on the news.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I see that someone in the chat said Black women are taught to be strong all the time. I think, especially for us, right? It's when you think about our sisters who die in childbirth, right?
Yep.
Their pain is ignored. Or as you think about us being raised as men, we tell our boys, suck it up. You want something to cry about? I'll give you something to cry about, right?
Right.
And then we wonder why we have just a whole legion of men who aren't in touch with their feelings and who are bottled up and who snap. And this wasn't overnight. This was decades, years in the making.
Yep. Talk more about that, because especially when we're talking about, because your thing is finance and money, and so those of y'all who don't know, Sean Ladrie and I have known each other for over 30 years. Okay. Those of you all who are connected to the ministry of Salem Baptist Church, where I serve, it was Sean and Siobhan, his wife, 30 years ago. They weren't married then, but we were all in school then. But they were married in the spirit realm. 30 years ago, they invited me to Salem. And so I am who I am because they decided to do what the pastor said, do and invite somebody to church. And so
Uh-oh. We'll be able to get Pastor back soon. Sorry about that.
that old liar is that old
Look at that. Oh, trickster.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
Geez. Forget the last actual point. But you were saying something, Doc. Uh-oh. Okay,
are we back?
Yeah, you're back.
Praise the Lord. All right. What was the last thing you heard me say?
Before you froze like Han Solo, my favorite. We were talking about how you were
want to build a snowman. Come on, let's go and play. Frozen. You heard me. So I was talking about your background and all the stuff you've done professionally, and because you had mentioned the pain that we're experiencing, you'd hinted on that it brings up stuff from the past.
Yes.
And so you operate in a domain where people are making decisions about money every day. But as an advisor and as a coach, I had asked you to just talk a little bit about what are some of the things that you see when we're talking about the pain and the stress of money.
Yeah. So, if we could actually hit on three things, I think I want to touch on financial stress is directly impacts mental health. So that's one. The second thing is financial trauma is real. Jesus is real. Financial trauma is real,
Yeah.
and it shapes your behavior. And then last thing, financial wellness is a part of mental wellness, right? So those three things, right? Financial stress directly impacts mental health. Financial trauma is real. It shapes behavior, and financial wellness is a part of mental wellness. So when we start thinking about financial stress, I'll just tell you, I'll share and be vulnerable. My wife and I, we were on a trip last year. We were in Europe, and I had just started this job. I was less than a year in, and I was just really stressing out. It was a situation where I'm not making as much money as I was in my previous role, and it was a brand new subject matter, and I wasn't connecting everything that was going on around me, but my body was, and my body was trying to tell me something. And so it's during the summer, and I keep telling my wife, I'm like, I keep breaking out on my elbow. I'm like, okay, what is it? I got suntan. I'm using SPF 500, not 30, not 50. I am lathered up. So, and then I was just like, is it eczema? Like, it was stress hives. I've never gotten stress hives in my entire life. And my body was sending me a signal that I am stressed out about this job, about my financial standing. And what happens is, Pastor, I think when we start getting these, you know, there's an internal check engine light, and when it's flashing red, we blow right through it. We keep driving, we keep going, trying to get to the next oasis, we keep trying to get to the next gas station instead of pulling over and addressing it. And so I think, you know in this environment where we're just so uncertain, you touched on it, the fact that AI, the Boston Consulting Group says that AI could actually replace somewhere between 10 million to 20 million jobs, for the next 5 years. So by 2030, AI would have eliminated 10 to 20 million jobs annually. And so you start thinking about that. You start thinking about the impact on us, and we're feeling it. We're seeing it in day by day. And so I think that there is something to be said about not getting a good night's sleep because you're thinking, you're worried about the bills, you're worried about the bill collector, you're worried about your spouse, being stressed out. You're worried about how you're going to take care of the kids. And so all of that is interconnected. And I think that a lot of times we like to compartmentalize and say, this goes over here, this goes over there. um you know but you can only play that game for so long. And so, going back to my own personal story, at some point, the body is saying, you know what, uncle, I give up. Hey Doc, I think we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So people understand when it comes to trauma that, so let's say, for instance, you were in a car accident when you were 5 years old.
Hmm.
And, that car accident caused you to freak out. And, you didn't know what was happening. So 5 years, you jump out the car, and it leaves a mark on you, right? So when we
Yes.
talk about
Yes.
trauma, we're talking about things that when you experience it, it actually gets stored in your body. Those
Hmm.
memories, how you felt in those moments, how you reacted, that then becomes a part of your physical DNA. And we know that we've come to understand that that is true. But what we also need to understand is that when it comes to talking about financial trauma, there are some experiences that we have had we don't talk about. We don't talk about how for a whole summer, the lights were off and folk thought that we were having seances and candlelight dinners, and it was out of necessity. We don't talk about how in the wintertime, a lot of us grew up in a house where we had to turn the oven on and then open the oven door to keep the first floor warm. We don't talk about that.
Hmm.
We don't talk about how, we had to grow up in situations where if we didn't have somebody that we could borrow money from, that we were stretching out the food and those things create the kind of trauma that gets stored in our bodies so that fast forward
Hmm.
10, 20 years later, 30 years later, we're making decisions out of that trauma, or we are avoiding decisions
Yeah.
that need to be made because of that trauma. So all the stuff that's going on in the world around us, we end up getting frozen. We don't know what to do. Like I was frozen a few minutes ago.
Hmm.
We don't know what to do. We don't know how to move because that trauma has come back up
Yeah.
and it has made us fearful. So now we don't want to sit in front of a financial advisor. We don't want to go to a financial management class because everything in us says, no, what I really need to do is just make it from week to week. That's what I really need to do. We
Yeah.
have it wired in us. What we need to focus on is financial survival.
Mm.
And we condition ourselves for financial survival. But that's a trap, right?
Yeah.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
So, talk to us a little bit about what you have been trying to do to help people get out of that trap where we're only focused on survival, we're only focused on so rather than deal with the root issue of what we're going through, we get a payday loan, or we uh, you know extend a line on the credit card because we're trying to avoid. So, how are you helping people who are ready to say, "I'm not okay in my money"?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, it goes back to, what is the old adage, the journey of, 10,000 miles or whatever, starts with a single step, right? Um, it's really, really, it's hard to help someone who won't acknowledge, um, what is going on. And I think that, being able to actually just kind of do move money here, move money there, it doesn't is window dressing. It doesn't get to the root problem. And so when we start thinking about conversations that you and I have had about trauma,
Mhm.
right, start thinking about the ACEs test. And if you haven't heard it before, let me say that there is a test that you can take. It's called Adverse Childhood Experiences, and it is a 10-question test, and if you score 7 or higher, it means that you have severe childhood trauma. I've taken the test, I've gotten a 9. Next time I take it, I plan to study and get a perfect 10. That is a sad joke, but the thing about it is that uh, you know there are so many times that we don't connect our spending, how we view money, with how we were raised. And to Pastor, to your point, you know, when we start thinking about, you know, what we witnessed in our worldview as kids growing up in terms of money, you start thinking about seeing parents fight, arguments,
Yeah.
you know, having to ask grandma and grandpa for money, having to ask them for food. I remember like it was yesterday, those black and white boxes of powdered milk in our pantry because we didn't have money for real milk. And so,
Yeah.
you know, what happens is that as a child, you start to realize that, hey, this is not normal. And when I grow up, when I get it, I'm gonna get it. And so many times we are trying to recapture our childhood through spending. We're trying to recapture what we didn't have, what our parents were unable to give to us by our check. And so that is the thing, is that, you know, I was talking to, and I'm not, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't ruin the movie for anybody. But you talk about Michael, the movie, right? That Michael Jackson did not have a childhood. He was working. Joe Jackson had Michael and his brothers working like they were at the steel mill, right? And
Hmm.
so Michael had had a song called "Have You Seen My Childhood," and so that you know, it's not coincidence that this man would be singing "Have You Seen My Childhood." And a lot of times, Pastor, I think what we do with our money, our present day adult, we're trying to right wrongs by buying things and buying ourselves into happiness, buying
Right.
ourselves into stability, because of the food insecurities, because of the insecurities that we had. And I think that when you don't address those things, you know, it be, you know, the payday loans, the credit card spending, that's an afterthought. Let's talk about, you know, what how do you view money? What
Yeah.
do you like? If I had to ask you, what is your definition of money? You know, if you don't have a healthy definition on that, everything else doesn't matter.
Right.
I can sit here and talk to you about binomial option pricing theory all day long. I can talk to you about how to price a call. I can talk to you about puts and all that stuff. But that doesn't matter if your relationship with money is off, because if the foundation is shaky, doesn't matter what you talk about, what you put on top of it, it's going to fall over.
Yeah.
And so, from that standpoint, I think we have to really have candid conversations about uh, this financial trauma, how we've been impacted, and how it is shaping our behavior. Because there's a reason why we as Black people are predisposed to getting paid on Friday and being broke by Saturday night.
Yes.
Not even Saturday morning. Like, and what I mean by Saturday night, I mean you got paid 5 o'clock p.m. and you are broke by midnight Saturday morning. So that's what I mean by that. And I think that, you know, a lot of times, and I'm, you know, I'm raising my hand, right, where it's just like, hey, I had a hard week. I deserve. They had this sale. And
Hmm.
you don't need another pair of shoes. And I think that it's the rewarding behavior. It's the tied to, you know, I better do this now because I don't know when I'm going to be able to do it, or
Right.
I'm going to be able to make it up, right? And so all of that plays into a factor of where we're giving ourselves this false confidence that things are always going to be the same, things aren't going to change. And then if we get laid off or something happens, or if there's an emergency, you know, then we go into panic mode, and then we go back into what we were talking about. The financial stress now starts
Right.
to kind of creep in.
Right. Sharice, that's so good. Sharice says, I did not hear about having a relationship with money until 4 years ago in therapy. The idea
Yes.
of having a relationship with money, that there is a backdrop that informs how we operate
Yeah.
with money, how we operate in relationships, and we have a relationship to those ideas, and our experiences are part of what has formed the way we relate to money, the way we relate to our physical health, the
Yeah.
way we relate to church and God. We just had an event Saturday talking about spiritual abuse.
Mhm.
And when people go through church hurt and spiritual abuse, that shapes their relationship with the church, their relationship with preachers.
Yeah.
And so, in order to go forward in a healthy way, we have to first be able to diagnose, well, where is my relationship? How did I get there? And now, what do I need to do to change my relationship? You
Mhm.
know, during COVID, we had this term to describe people who were more susceptible. So some people, they got COVID, and it was like a cold. You know,
Right.
my daughter had COVID and she had sniffles. I got COVID and I was trying to figure out, should I go to the hospital? Right. It impacted different people differently. And that's when I found out that I had a vitamin D deficiency. I'm going somewhere with this. And one of the things that they realized was, okay, well, if you have pre-existing conditions or if you have a vitamin D deficiency, that those kinds of things made you more vulnerable to COVID. So the majority of people who died during COVID were people who came into COVID already unhealthy and perhaps even in ways that they did not know. Why
Mhm.
am I saying that? Because I think that there are people, there's some of us, we're coming into this cultural moment and we have some deficiencies. So we have some financial health deficiencies and we have some financial awareness deficiencies. And maybe perhaps in previous seasons, it was okay for us to be able to, survive and make it through. But now we're coming into a moment where AI and possible recession,
Mhm.
right? And all these things happening everywhere all at once. Um, what are some of the things, if I'm sitting here and I'm hearing what I just said for that's 5 minutes. I'm sitting here and I'm going, oh Lord, is I'm deficient? What are some of the things that you would say if you're dealing with some of these kinds of issues, then you might want to address some of these things, particularly with what's coming up, because a lot of what you do is trying to figure out the economic outlook, the economic projection, right? So you can advise people
Mhm.
on how to engage with that. So what are some of the things that if I'm trying to figure out, is I'm gonna be okay, or do I need to be concerned? What are some deficiencies I need to be like thinking about paying attention to?
Yeah, so I think that goes to that to the third point in terms of just financial wellness as a part of mental wellness. If you want to be able to sleep good at night, uh, yeah, if I ask you, are you up at night? And you tell me yes, I'll probably ask you, are you worried about your money? Right? If you want to sleep well at night, or you want to know if you want to actually see someone who sleeps well at night, it's somebody who actually uh, doesn't seem that it's not that they don't have a care about money. It's just that it's not the preeminent thought dominating everything, right?
Mhm.
And so when we start thinking about what are some of the things that we can be able to say if we're in a good position or not, because I think that you bring up a really good point. There is an economic downturn coming. I filled up my tank last night, and after I gave them half of a down payment for a new house, I got my truck filled. And so from that standpoint, where you start talking about, $50 just 3 years ago to fill up your car or your truck, and now it's $120. That's not sustainable without it having some knock-on effects. high interest rates prevent us from high interest rates and high inflation rates prevent the Fed from lowering interest rates without there having calamity, right? Because if you lower interest rates for the sake of lowering the interest rates, and let's just say that there's somebody who's in charge who wants to see lower interest rates for the sake of having lower interest rates to boost their standing in the polls. Well, if inflation hasn't actually stabilized, you're now introducing a whole new variable that you have to address for, right? So from that standpoint, high energy costs in lieu in the way that we're seeing in terms of high prices for gas, high prices for oil fuel. If you think that the war in the Middle East, the war with Iran isn't having an impact, just go ask Spirit, because they were already having financial difficulties. When you start talking about jet fuel going up because of the price of oil, that is an economic shock that they were not accounting for. And so the question now becomes, what economic shock are you not accounting for, right? Yes. How are you going to position yourself in such a way that when things come, that you're ready? So the one thing that I will always stress and talk about it in terms of just kind of drilling in is that budgeting, right? Are you budgeting? Are you saving, right? Are you making a conscious effort to reduce your debt footprint? Are you building an emergency fund? And one thing too, Pastor, is that and it's such a perverse cycle, right? It's such a really vicious cycle when we start thinking about those of us who have made it, those of us who are the most responsible in the family. We're the ones who usually are given the most burden, right? From the standpoint that if Junebug gets locked up, little Pookie them, little trigger starter, right? Little pistol starter, when they get locked up, Big Mama usually is calling you, hey, I don't know how to work these things. I don't know how to send money through the cash mo, the Vin app, right? I don't know how to do that, but you do. And
I don't know how to face gram them some money.
What is this money wire? But the sad thing about it is that there's always this kind of withdrawal that the family places on you for being responsible, and like you're being penalized. And a lot of times, some of us will start to tap into our 401k. We'll start taking loans against it. And so what happens is that when you get laid off, they actually give you a certain period of time for you to actually pay back the loan to yourself. Otherwise, they're going to report it to the IRS. And so now you not only have you have dual deficits, right? You have twin deficits. You have a deficit in the sense that you've taken out of your 401k and you owe yourself, and now it has now become a taxable event, and now you owe the government for the money that you took out. And so so that's the reason why we start talking. That's the reason why I always stress that it's so important to have an emergency fund. We talk about the fact that roughly 60%, somewhere between 60 to 7% of all Americans, not just Black America, but all Americans don't have $400 on hand should something happen, right? Should an emergency arise, roughly 60% of all Americans don't have $400 that they can access. Mm-hmm. Think about that, right? And so I think that when you start talking about, I said budget, savings, reducing debt, building an emergency fund, but then learning how money works and not just financial tools. And that last part, Pastor, is so important, because when I start thinking about, financial trauma, I think that a lot of times people are really in love with the idea of investing as opposed to the practical things that go into investing. Yes. What do I mean by that? It's always be wary of people who are always talking about the next get rich scheme. because they're not going to call it the next get rich scheme. They're just going to tell you, I found a come up. You can open up an annuity and become your own bank. Yeah, that's great until the company that's sponsoring your annuity goes under, because when they go under, it's not backed by the FDIC, so all your money is gone.
See, see, see.
and so Bitcoin, right? Oh, I should have got in when it was at 1,000. Now it's at 70,000. Well, hey, when it goes back down to 1,000, you'll feel justified, because all it is built on is smoke and mirrors. Bitcoin is not based on anything technical. I can take Walt Disney is going to report their earnings this week. I can tell you how healthy Walt Disney is doing based upon looking at their revenue drivers. How are the parks and amusements, the amusement parks doing? How's live entertainment doing? How is ESPN doing? How are the Marvel films doing? How is just their broader reach in terms of just how they're marketing? I can tell you that. I can't tell you how Bitcoin is doing, because it's based on just hype and just kind of what somebody said in some chat room somewhere, right?
Yep.
And so the thing about it is that I really believe that a lot of people are really invested in the idea of wanting to invest, as opposed to the seriousness of saying, hey, what do I think about this, as opposed to what I heard my hair salon stylist say, what my barber say. Because honestly, a lot of times people talk about these things and don't understand them, and you should never invest or put your money into something that you fully can't understand or even explain to your sweet grandma. If you can't explain to grandma, then you shouldn't be in it.
Come on here. And so this is right where I want to, because I said, and y'all, so first of all, can we thank God for Sean Ladrie tonight? Giving us a little bit of wisdom and some ease in this, because a lot of us are not okay, and it's okay to not be okay when we're talking about money and money stress, because what you don't want to do is get to the crisis and then look back and wish you had prepared for the crisis. That's what you don't want to do. That's what you don't. You can pretend and pretend and pretend and fake, but MC Breed said, ain't no future in your fronting. I'm just saying, he said it back in the 80s and it's 90s, and it's gospel. Yeah, because the more we pretend, the less we prepare.
Yes.
The more we pretend, the less we prepare. I want you to be prepared. The burden that the Lord placed on my heart for this month, the month of May, is to do everything I could to help us to have these conversations and to position us to be ready, so that when the crisis comes, we know what to do and we can survive it. The Bible says that God gave Joseph wisdom to interpret Pharaoh's dream, so that there were 7 years that they prepared for the famine. So when the famine came, everybody in Egypt already knew what to do. So there are things that are getting ready to happen in the world that you can't stop, we can't change, but we can be prepared for it. And I'm grateful, Sean, because in this month, you are having a conversation to try to help people to not only prepare for what's coming up in our economy and what's happening financially, but for them to navigate that and be able to move forward and do what they need to be able to do to prepare their legacy, so that we're not just surviving, but we're actually getting to flourishing. Can you talk a little bit about that while we put that up on the screen?
Yeah, so I've been challenged. I was actually planning to do this at the end of last year, and finally now getting around to it. But there are some things that are happening in the economy, and I really would love to just give an update, unbiased update in terms of what I'm seeing, what that means, more specifically for your household, right? So the idea, what on May the 17th, going to be holding a free just kind of an update on what this economy means for your household. So as you can actually, thank you, Pastor, for putting the link in the chat. Uh, you know, there's no worse feeling than you grinding yourself down to the bone, right? Down to the white meat and still feeling like you are behind, right? And
Mm,
so what I really feel called to do is helping people make better financial decisions, especially in this unstable economy. The question is not if a recession is coming or when the downturn is coming. It's coming. I think that the better question is how long, and more importantly, regardless of how long it is, because as the I'm forgetting the actual origin of the quote, but the bottom line is that whenever America gets a sneeze, black folks catch pneumonia. And so, from the standpoint that regardless of if this is just a minor downturn or if it's a prolonged actual recession, our people are gonna feel the most brunt of it, right? And so, what I want to do is talk about the ways that you can be prepared. Talk about some of the things that you can be doing, the 7 moves that you should be making to actually strengthen your financial foundation, and hopefully take some Q&A, and then talk about some of the things that I'm doing in terms of working with individuals. But hopefully you can join us. Love to actually just kind of share some of the things that I've been observing to really kind of get to this point. It's not meant to be doom and gloom. It's more to be taking a very sobering look, because as we've heard, AI is coming. It's coming for everything, everywhere, all at once, right? And so, we can either do one or two things. We can prepare to fight, or we can run away. But you can't outrun it. And so I would rather have everyone that I care about, everyone that I'm called to be equipped to handle this next phase, because it's here to stay.
yeah. Yeah. So the link is in the chat, and it's also up on the screen here. And you can actually, if you didn't get the link in the chat, we're going to put it back up on the screen. And there is a QR code up on the screen. So if folk have their devices, you can actually, if you're not watching on your device, we're getting ready to wrap up, but you can click on this link. Now, this is how much is this event? Because you are an advisor, man. You charge for this stuff. I had to be careful when I ask you questions, because I don't want you to send me no invoice. I'll let Siobhan be looking at me like, well, that conversation, just as sweet as she could be, that conversation will cost you. So tell us about this. Like, how much is this conversation that you're having on the 17th?
Yeah, so this is a free event. So,
Shut up.
and that's the reason why I'm encouraging everyone to invite anyone you care about, anyone who has any exposure to the U.S. economy, and that please invite them. This is free, because the thing about it is that. A lot of times we don't see the end game, right? And so I was just talking about Pastor Marshall, and I remember a conversation that we had in terms of just mortgage rates a couple
Yeah.
of years ago, right? You know, there are times where necessarily it hurts us and it penalizes us for not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. So you think about Mena Issachar, right? Those who actually knew about the times and they knew how to approach it. And so that's
Right.
what I really hope, just to share sort of the things that I'm seeing, some of the data points that are pointing to, hey, we are, regardless of what's being said out of 1600 Pennsylvania, we are not okay. You talk about, I'm not okay, and that's okay. Our economy is not okay, and that's not okay, right? And
Right.
so, what we want to be able to do is talk about, things like inflation, things like rates, what that means for your money, what that means for your bottom line, why it's so important to actually be thinking about the budgeting and saving, and the reason and the catalyst behind why so many households are getting stretched. Pastor, I can sit up here ad nauseum and tell you why you should be taking advantage of your debt situation now rather than later, because things like buy now, pay later are now going to start getting factored into your credit score,
Mm.
right? A lot of
Mm.
people have been taking a lot of buy now, pay laters. And I talked about this, and I said it tongue in cheek. You can actually Uber Eats a burrito from Chipotle. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. But anyway, you can Uber Eats a burrito from Chipotle, and you can do a buy now, pay later option. So that burrito that costs you $17, you do buy now, pay later, is going to wind up costing you $50. And if you miss any of the payments, now Klarna and all of these really big companies, they are now reporting that to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And a lot of lenders are going to actually start taking that into account. Now, they haven't gotten to the point yet where it's factored into your credit score, but they are shadow watching that. And so it's getting to the point of where that's going to be a part of your normal credit makeup.
This is so wicked, man. And
yeah,
what's really wicked about it is that on purpose, there's a group of people who know and a group of people who do not know.
Yeah.
That's deliberate.
Yes.
And so thank you for being willing to take some time and for free, I can't believe it, for free helping us to know what we need to know so that we don't become victims of yet another plan. Because really what, really what this is what do they call it, this is really robbery. It's really planned robbery. It's really the rich planning a massive take from the poor and the middle class. That's what this really is all about.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, they'll look around and go, "Oh, it's terrible what happened." But the people will have run off with their money. The robber never cares what happens after the robbery. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you're talking about. And so thank you for putting this together. Cherie says, I'm registered.
All right.
She says, I'm registered. Tracy says, Minister Mars, yes, I appreciate this tremendously. It's right on time. And I just thank God for you. What we're going to do is we're going to share this in the Manifest Network group. We'll send this out as an e-blast, and all of the resources that are going to be available this month to help us to figure out how we can really be okay. We're going to share those resources this month, whether it's an event, whether it's somebody offering their services, offering their time, whatever that looks like, we're going to share that out to the folk. Any final comments before we close out tonight?
No, Matt, I will say this, that you hit the nail on the head. One of the things that I've heard in my many classes, and it was so poignant, is just that, we live in a capitalist society, right? We will never see true communism, because in order to be, the whole idea about communism means that everybody's equal. We're too selfish. We're too ego driven for that to be the case.
Right.
And the thing about capitalism is that it is designed by it is designed, as you said, with intent, that there is a higher class and there's a lower class. And if you don't know which class you're in, chances are you're in the lower class. And so, you think about the transference of wealth that took place during the pandemic, the fact that the people that are at the lever of controls for AI don't look like you and me. And AI is simply but a machine. You put garbage in, it will spit garbage back out. And so from that standpoint, we have to have these conversations. We have to be on guard, and we don't want to be caught unaware. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity to just kind of to share and really be able to kind of share my heart about wanting to help our people.
My pleasure, man. Thank God for you, y'all. So if you haven't already, whether you watching this live or on the replay, go to the comments, register for that Legacy Lab, get all the information that you need. We're going to be doing that on the 17th, right? On May 17th. And make sure that you sign up for that. It's absolutely free. Sean Ladrie, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me pray for us. We're going to be talking about money this month. We're going to be talking about physical wellness. We're going to be talking about our relationship with the church hurt, spiritual abuse. We're going to be talking about mental and emotional health and why don't Christians believe in therapy. So I want to go here because we cannot pretend like we're okay when we're not. And the better news is that we don't have to. God has actually given us a way of escape from some of the things that the enemy would like to allow to take us out. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for who you have placed in the kingdom for such a time as this to help us. God, if we were honest, many of us are dealing with things that we don't even know how to begin to talk about. But just thank you that you love us so much, and that in your loving kindness and your tender mercy, you have given gifts to us in the body of Christ. So we thank you for Sean. We thank you for what he does and his leadership and his ministry. God, I pray for those who are struggling in their finances and they're experiencing financial trauma, and they're struggling, robbing Peter to pay Paul, trying to figure things out, trying to figure out mounting debt, not knowing what to do in this economy, children going to college. God, there's so much. Would you guide them to the resources that they need? Would you help them locate where they need to go to get those questions answered? God, I think you've given us an answer already. And so I pray that you would encourage them to sign up for this experience. But even more than that, God, I pray that you would speak to their hearts. I pray that you would give us the peace that passes all understanding. May it guard our hearts and guard our minds in you. And Lord, give us wisdom. You said, if anyone lack wisdom, let them ask of God, and you would give it liberally and not hold back. So we ask, Father, that you would give us a liberal and abundant supply of your wisdom, that we might be able to understand the times and do what you've created us to do, live the life that you've created us to live, be who you've created us to be, and see the future that you have ordained for our lives. We love you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. God bless you. Register for the Legacy Lab. I'll let you know when we're popping up again next time, because it's okay to not be okay. It's really okay to not be okay. Don't be lying. Don't be friendly. You ain't okay. I'll catch you next time. Love y'all. Bye-bye.